Everybody, welcome to Bound to Truth. This is Chris Lopez. Hope everybody's having a great weekend and a wonderful Sunday. Um, so I know I just put on an episode last Thursday. I thought it'd be pretty good information to share regarding some of the Navy Admiral stuff coming out regarding the UFOs and so forth. And there's also a new report that came out from the Pentagon, a 60-page doc regarding explanations in the phenomenon, claiming there's no aliens or any of that sorts. And it's supposed to be the first volume. However, they won't show any footage, which I thought is kind of interesting. Sounds pretty desperate to me. Sounds well planned, and they really only had a few select media involved, like I kind of talked about in the last podcast. Might come out with an episode on that when I read more into it and kind of get some more details on that Thursday. So anyways, want to share where you can reach us. Not only are we on Spotify, but now we are on YouTube. We are now on X. Pretty excited about that. Took me a lot of freaking work for this old guy. And so forth. So again, you can reach us through email at boundtotruth34@gmail.com. Reach us on Facebook, YouTube, and now X or Twitter, Bound to Truth. So anywho, before we get started, I want to introduce our first guest. Her name is Tisha. Did I say that right? Tisha.
Yep, Tisha.
Okay, perfect. So I when I first started doing this podcast, she has been wonderful to share her experience and information. We talked on the phone, just a wonderful person. Met her and her my gosh, I forgot his name again. I'm so bad, dude. He's really mad at me.
It's Gabe.
Gabe, yeah, I met him personally after her and I talked at a nonprofit event, which was a lot of fun, really cool. A little bit of weird storms happening that day, which is gnarly. But she has some really good experiences regarding both the paranormal and a couple of UFO sightings that I really thought was really interesting. And she's my first again interview and a local person as well, and wanted to give her the platform to kind of share. And so, yeah, Tisha, go for it. So, talk about yourself. Share what you want. Talk about who you are, where you're from. Are you from Earth? I don't know. So, what's going on? What's going on?
I'd like to think I'm from Earth, but I'm not 100% sure. Um, so I'm from California, from the Bay Area. We've been in Washington for a few years now, though, and I've bounced back and forth between Washington and California my whole life. Um, and yeah, we've had experiences in both places with my family and other people. A lot of people in my life have had these experiences and shared them with me. I've always been quite a bit of a believer. I've never really been a skeptic or a doubter. I've never been one of those people that, put on your tinfoil hats to people. I've always thought it could be a possibility. And then I had my own experiences. And yeah, just kind of confirms to me that something exists out there in terms of the paranormal and extraterrestrial life possibility, dimensional, whatever it might be.
And that
um,
the all around NHI, who whatever they want to call them to kind of broaden the term, right? There's all these new terms now.
mhm.
So what got you really interested? Can you go back to an age or time? What really got you sparked into this interest in this whole UFO paranormal aspect?
Yeah, so like when we chatted before, as far back as I can remember, I've been into creepy, spooky, paranormal stuff. Like when I was my daughter's age, like 6 and 7, I was reading Goosebumps. Those are my favorite books. I've read most of them. And it really just started from there. Then it was scary movies, horror movies, paranormal stuff, all the reality paranormal shows. And then once I got older and had my own experiences, I just did a lot more researching and reading about other people's experiences. And just, it's always been an interest to me. And it hasn't gone away, it hasn't faded.
Sounds like it's an ongoing, lifelong passion, which is
Yes.
which is awesome. Which is cool. Have you had any? I know when I reached out to a bunch of people on Facebook and so forth, are you like one of those people who kind of will talk about it kind of freely, or is it kind of more of it's like, hey, if it's invited to talk about, I'll definitely, you know, uh, jump in that conversation. How comfortable are you usually talking about this in that aspect with people?
um It depends on the person, but I would say and the time. So generally before it wasn't something I openly talked about at all. I didn't want people to think I was crazy or I was one of these nuts. And I still believed, I just didn't share my beliefs or research or thoughts or experiences with anyone. Now it's a little different. It really kind of depends on the person. I am open. I can be led into talking about it. And sometimes I will just talk about it openly if I don't feel like I'm going to be judged about it, really. So I think
Okay.
times are changing also in general for our society. So it's becoming a little more acceptable. Not everyone thinks, a lot of people feel the same way, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree with you as well. I think there's a lot more interest involved too. I think social media, good or bad, the way depends
Mhm.
how you look at it, has done a great job with that. A lot more flow of information, and of course, unfortunately, a lot more disinformation that can happen too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's like you have to really filter the BS out of it, which is again, everybody, we got to use our brains. We got to use, the only Spanish word I was capesa. I don't even said that right. But what about any family or friends or close members of your family? Have you guys talked openly about this, or what's kind of their feeling with it?
I would say there has been some pushback with older family members, especially.
Mhm.
I'm thinking it's like delusions or paranoia
Okay.
or whatever. Even with some younger family, but with some people, it's they're believers as well, and it's okay to talk about. And like with my father, he's definitely always been a believer.
Mhm.
And then my fiance Gabe is also, oh, not no, sometimes it's really hit and miss. His experiences have made him more of a believer, but he's still very much a skeptic on the other side.
Well, I
And
kind of when I kind of met with one of you guys, I was like, you're like the opposite Fox Mulder and Scully. The longer he's been with you, the more he's like, all right, I'm starting to believe in more. Like you guys are in season 5, wait until season 7, then you guys will
mhm,
then they'll start having
yeah.
that then the I want to believe starts happening. But the great thing about that, when I was telling you guys before, is it's good to have that complementary personalities,
Mhm, yep.
where it's like for me, sometimes we can be floating too close to the sun, and it's like
Mhm.
weight ourselves down a little bit because we can get burnt. And so I really but he's a smart guy. I mean, I was
He
impressed
is.
with his conversation and certain stuff he shared with me that I don't even want to go into because of certain things he, you know, respect wise, I want to respect him and I hope to develop earn trust with him as well. Um, but the nice thing is that and he gave some good reasons why too, and again I'll keep that private. But the good thing is that he really supports you. It seems like very well,
Yeah.
and really, even though he's kind of like, well, let's come back to planet Earth. He seems pretty very open to it, which is good. Which is good, right?
Yeah. He's
So
more of a like if there's like logic behind it or a personal experience he's had himself is more what's made it more believable for him. But he's very much a skeptic.
okay.
Does not believe Bigfoot could be a possibility at all. He has no science or reason to believe, but
He hasn't
some
met
other stuff.
he hasn't met one of my uncles, dude. He's me think there's an interesting link between those things. All right, hairy little beast. I see Bigfoot. I'm like, Uncle Brian, he's gonna kill me for telling him that. Yeah, I'm putting you out, buddy. That's right. That's for all the insults you gave me over the years, dude. So I'm gonna call you a hairy beast. Anyways, let's. I'm done getting the degree on your paranormal experiences. So where do you want to start with that?
Ooh, I guess
This is yours, dude. Go for
it
it.
is. Okay, so the first real ones that okay, so the first one that I guess it wasn't mine. We'll talk about my dad's experience.
Mhm.
Um, so the first time that I ever like really heard about something paranormal in real life, my father woke me up. I was young. I was a young kid. I must have been like 7, 8, 9, maybe.
Mhm.
Woke me up in the middle of the night and was drenched in sweat and very scared, very like fear in his eyes. He was crying. Had said that he'd seen a figure standing in front of the window and the sun was just rising very early in the morning, and that he was like paralyzed and couldn't move, couldn't scream, and that yeah, he was very very scared for his life. And that led me in, when I was older, to seeing about sleep paralysis and learning more about that. And then a lot of people see shadow figures. But that was like, I was terrified. I was a kid. I didn't, my dad's telling me he saw some shadow figure person in the middle of the night that paralyzed him, that he couldn't move. That was the first time, yeah, that something had happened around me, or I'd heard about it happening in real life. So,
Yeah, I remember I briefly shared with you. I had that same experience with the Ouija board. I remember I shared that
mhm,
a few weeks on a different episode. But when you told me that, I was just like, I mean, it's a shared experience. And with sleep paralysis, I've never fully understood it. I know there is some type of medical thing with it, but it's not fully explained,
mhm.
and what I tell people is I never like to separate the science and the different spiritual realm. I mean, heck, we're talking about dimensions now, right? So
Yeah.
become more science potential fact.
Mhm.
Science are talking about that. Could this be something of a dimensional thing? We have no idea what
Mhm.
that could look like. All I know is that it's been shared. You're not the first person. I'm not the last person. There's tons of that stories, and it's not fun. I totally feel for your dad on that one. Definitely no bueno. Oh, I know
Yeah,
another
it
bad word.
seems terrifying. It's
Oh, it
nothing I've
sucks.
experienced, but I could see the fear in his eyes.
It's
I remember it to this day, so many years later.
well, yeah, you're a kid seeing that. You're like, this is your protector. This is your dad,
Yeah.
right? And so, and seeing him kind of feeling broken down and vulnerable must have been sure a memory stuck in
Yeah.
your head.
Yeah, it never went away.
And wow. Well, I'm glad. I don't think you had any more experience. Like there was that one time, right?
Me?
No, him on that.
Oh, no, that was the only time he ever
Yeah.
shared with me that it ever happened ever again. So yeah.
He probably
Um
went straight to Catholic church and just listened to blame him.
they were very Catholic, just not practicing. So,
Oh no, yeah.
like most Catholics.
We're very Catholic when crap hits the fan, man. We're like, oh, let's go to get a rosary, get some holy water, or maybe some stakes and crosses until we know what we're
Yep.
doing. All right. Anyways, go ahead, continue. So, what else? What else you got for us? Talk. Go ahead.
So, back in California, I was living at my mom's ex-husband's apartment, and my mom used to live there, and they were the second residents there, her and her ex-husband, back in the 70s. So they've been there, he's been there the whole time, and there was one other resident there, in that apartment, since it'd been built.
Mhm.
And it was a woman, I think she was 26 or 27. And I found a newspaper article about her after all these weird things started happening. I looked into it. I had no idea, that had shot herself in the heart in the living room of the apartment. And she died. And that was the only other person besides I call him my stepdad, lived in that apartment. Um, and I've lived there on and off my whole life with my mom. He's very much a father figure to me, even though he's not my father.
Mhm.
Um, and he's not the same one that had the experience. His
Right.
name is Michael, and he is not a believer. He is not, he's very old school. He thinks I'm a little bit crazy for the things that happened in the apartment. Um,
Well, tell him this. The truth is stranger than fiction.
it's strange because he's been there so long, and my older sister lived there, and my mom lived there, and no one else had any experiences, which was strange to me. I really questioned my own sanity as well when things started happening.
Mhm.
But I was in my early 20s when I was living there. I was going to school, and Michael's quite a bit older and has mobility issues. So he lived in the downstairs living room of the apartment, and I had the upstairs floor to myself that had two bedrooms and a bathroom. And I can't remember the first incident was in the bathroom. I forgot. We talked about this and I forgot this part. So in the bathroom, there's no windows there. So the first time I ever had experience, I was using the restroom on the phone with my sister, and one of the bathroom cabinet doors like flung open, and it was weird. It wasn't super fast. It was like opened, and I could hear talking, which, like, at first I was just like, oh, maybe like there's a lot of earthquakes in California, right? I try to rationalize like
Oh
there's
yeah. Well, I
earthquakes,
remember I told you I'm from Cali, man. Absolutely. Yeah,
and the talking, like there's other people in this building. Maybe it's coming from somewhere somehow, right? And that was the first thing that ever happened. And I told my sister. I even recorded it happening, and I don't have that recording anymore. But yeah, we just try to rationalize it really. It wasn't a huge thing. But later on, other stuff started happening in my room. Like my hair dryer was plugged into the wall and it turned on by itself when I was across the room. And I used to be a dirty, nasty smoker that smoked inside my room. And one time I was smoking a cigarette and I went to go ash, and the ashtray just fell right off my little dresser thing. I hadn't even touched it yet. It just fell like straight to the floor. It was glass.
Right.
And same thing. I'd like told all my friends. I was a little scared, and even my friend Chris had mentioned, earthquakes, California, shifting of buildings, electrical problems with the hair dryer. Um, and then it just like progressively started getting weirder and weirder. What happened next? Other people started feeling weird things in the hallway when they came to my house. And I hadn't really told a whole bunch of people because I didn't want to be crazy. There's just like an odd feeling like you were being watched in the hallway every time you went up the stairs. And then I had my daughter, and I was supposed to have her room be next to mine as a nursery. I had it all set up, but that room was always colder than every other room.
Hmm.
And I just didn't want her in there. I had a bad feeling about it. So I wound up moving everything into my room for her to sleep with me when she was born. And I remember a time me and my friend Tatiana were going up the stairs and the windows were closed and the nursery door was open. And as we got to the top of the stairs, it swung shut. It swung shut right in front of us. And that's what I immediately went like to check like the window, like, am I crazy? Is it when like earthquakes again? Is that what it is? But it just kept happening, like doors closing, things moving. Other people felt like they were being touched when they were in my apartment.
Hmm.
And it was weird. In the bathroom, people always said they could hear people talk. Sometimes like they even said their names. And it wasn't me. And it happened to Gabriel, it happened to my ex. And when those times happened to them, I was sleeping with Aria. So it's not like it was the middle of the night.
Right.
Um, there's been so many weird experiences in that apartment. And we eventually got a psychic, and she said it was the spirit of the woman trying to protect me, and that she didn't have any malice. Um, and as my daughter got older, she started going into the hallway to play with something out there. And we put crosses on the doors, thinking that would help. And when I put the crosses on the door, it made all the stuff stop happening inside the rooms, and it was contained like only to the hallway and bathroom. And yeah, then one of my coworkers got us holy water from his brother that was a priest, and I was burning incense all the time.
Hmm.
And it wasn't it never like did anything bad, but it was very did not feel good. It did not feel good. We would
What does
we would
so
we would
sorry?
always keep the door closed to the hallway. Like I just didn't want it open. Like especially if we were sleeping, I just
Yeah.
didn't want it open. And sometimes like you would hear someone jiggling the door on the other side of the hallway in the middle of the night, and it's not Michael because he has mobility issues. He can't get up the stairs without struggling by himself. So like what's on the other side? And my ex would not go check. Like he would not. He was too scared to go look. But again, other friends were rationalizing like earthquakes, the shiftment of the building, wind, you know.
Well, rationalizing or denying, I totally get it. I think when everybody's got levels of fear, right?
Mhm,
I think certain traumas that we're going to just create those kind of explanations, which is totally
mhm,
normal. And I think it depends on the fear, not understanding the unknown. And I
mhm.
also think too that our brain has that kind of protective measure. Even for
Yeah.
huge trauma, where it'll just block it out. Right.
Mhm,
I'm not saying that's a fact, but I just kind of that's kind of my rationale where it's like they've seen it, they witnessed it, and they're just gonna like, no, it was an earthquake. Oh, it was a wind.
mhm.
What window? And so forth. Now you made a comment regarding it wasn't malicious. Did I get that right? But it
That
was
that's
comfortable.
what the psychic said, but and
Did anything malicious happen, or is it kind of like, I mean, besides the only thing I can hear from our conversation is just like the the hair dryer turn on, but no one's in the bathroom doing that type of thing.
Yeah, the only, and it never like touched me. I never felt like anything ever touched me. The
Mm.
only thing that like the psychic said was that it was trying to protect me from like males, and the the only people that it like touched were people that did end up being like bad, violent people. So I feel like they
Okay.
had more worse experiences. Like when my ex used to be in the shower, he would like see something in there and like call out, like, because the way the glass was paned, you couldn't see through it, but you could see like
A
it's
figure
like
of some
opaque.
sort. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like anyone I think that was like a bad influence had a worst experience in the
Mhm.
apartment, but it never touched me. And like all the stuff creeped me out, but nothing bad actually happened to me. And my daughter was not scared of whatever it was. Either she would play with and talk to something in the hallway, which was so creepy, but like obviously she wasn't scared.
Okay. Wow.
So I don't think it was malicious, but I don't know. It's still
Still,
who knows, right?
still a mystery, but a mystery itself of what it could be if it's a ghost or who knows what. But
Yeah.
just the experiences, I'm sure, are enough. Sounds like. So now, before we go into the UFO experiences you and Gabe had, I wanted to jump
Yeah.
into our recent messaging regarding experiences you had, and I part this again. This I call this Catholic guilt. I kind of feel like I did something as stupid as that sounds. Like, I go meet you and Gabe and your daughter, and then later that week, all of a sudden you have these experiences. I'm like, dude, what did I do, man? And I start looking back, like, was it because I went to that Kim person's house and went to that haunted place and I brought something back, but nothing happens to me because I don't care. I'm pretty like whatever. I'm just let me sleep, just don't mess things up. Anyway, so I'm going on a tangent. What's happening, man? So talk to me. I read some of the messages, saw some videos, but let's hear it from you. What's going on?
Oh my goodness. We've even been theorizing like maybe it's because we not because of you, but because we're talking about it again. And it's such like a scary thing. We don't ever really try to talk about it too much. But then, when I met you and all the whole paranormal podcast and you're all interested in all this stuff, I wanted to tell
Oh,
you. So
I
like
am a cursed being. It looks like everybody should stop listening. I should stop talking about it. It's funny. The first person I thought of here, he might be mad at me, was actually Gabe. I was like, oh crap, he's gonna blame me for this, and I totally don't blame him for that. I'm like, oh no,
oh my gosh.
oh my.
Because you know how they say like if you just I don't know, on some of the
But
Reddits they say if you just
you're
ignore it, don't acknowledge it,
don't
just
give it
leave it
power.
alone, it'll go
Yeah,
away.
don't give it power. Don't give it power. I totally hear it. And by the way, God forbid if this, after we hear your, before we hear your story, we don't ever have to talk about it again because I do care about every protection and well-being. We don't have to talk about it now if you don't want to. We can go straight. It's up to
Oh,
you. But it's but
no, no.
I do take it serious for people. But again, it's like that roller coaster ride. Be this height, ride at your own risk. Don't have any heart failures or pregnancy or anything of that stuff. So, but anyway,
Oh my gosh.
so yeah, I'm kind of whimsical on my feet here. Anyways, but yeah, go ahead. What if you would like to discuss it?
Yeah, it's okay. It's already happening. So, um,
You're like, screw
so
it.
yeah, we never had any more experiences after that. We left California and we were so grateful to be out of that apartment. It was just a weird vibe. We didn't like it. Our next apartment was fine. Didn't anytime we heard like a creak or something, we would be like immediately freaked out at our new apartment. And but it was nothing. It was neighbors, It's just we were so on edge from our last experience. Every time I'd be like, oh, I pray it's not haunted here too.
Right.
Um, but it wasn't. Everything was fine. And then we left that apartment, moved to this apartment we're in now. We've been here for 2 years and we really hadn't had any experiences all here. Everything's been fine. But then, yeah, then we talked to you the other weekend, and I don't want to say that that did it because my neighbor upstairs said she's been having experiences since she moved in here, like ever since she moved in here. She moved in before us, like
Mm,
6 months. And the
mm,
woman that lived in that apartment before her was an older lady, and she passed away there. So she's been having experiences that she was trying to um, I remember her mentioning to me earlier in our friendship too, like asking me if like I heard noises. It's like, yeah, the walls are thin. Yeah, I hear noises. And she just recently told me that, like, yeah, she's been like talking to me a little bit, trying to like, you know, mention these things to me that she's been seeing and hearing, but didn't want me to think that she was like out of her mind, right? Um, but yeah, so after we spoke to you, there's been just I want to say it's activity, but I really don't want to say that. I don't want to say it.
You don't
Um,
you don't have to. This is not, you're not on trial. You're not getting confronted by a lawyer. We can keep it to that if you want. You can go a little more deeper. Again, this is about making you feel comfortable and
oh,
and so forth. So I just want to make sure that's totally, again, it's totally okay, because I've had my experience before where it's not fun. It's not.
yeah,
So
it's okay. It's yeah. Um, so there's been like banging noises in the hallway, and we have security cameras
mm,
in our hallway and outside the front of our building to the entrance. Caitlin, also our neighbor, has the same thing, security cameras at the door and the entrance and the doorbell camera. And her and Gabe and me at separate times, separate events since the weekend that we met. And I sent you over those videos. There's been banging. There's been hearing people walking in the hallway. When there's no one there, you could hear someone walking up the steps.
mm,
Caitlin's been hearing coughing and whispering, and someone at her door, and like keys jingling. They've even, Gabe and Caitlin at one of the videos at separate points had been going to check out what they were hearing in the hallway, not coordinated, and like
mm.
caught each other, like right there.
Wow.
That's what he was like, is that you? And she was like, was that you? But it wasn't either of them. You check the cameras, they're both just as scared, just heard some weird banging in the hallway. I was the first one to hear it because it was in the middle of the night, and I thought it was the police. Like that's what, like it was like bang, bang, bang 3 times. Like, and I immediately went to check the camera because I was like, the police are actually here pretty often in this complex, and I was like, oh, but there was no one there. No one came in. There was no one there. No one in the hallway. And from the way that me and Caitlin both have our cameras positioned, we could see everything in the common hallway.
Yeah.
Um, so there was no one there. And I was like, oh, that's weird. That's weird. And then all this other stuff started happening. And Caitlin, I'm trying to gonna get her to come on the podcast, maybe Gabe too.
Okay.
But she's had someone feel like someone's like pinching her and touching her. She's seeing shadows and scratching noises in her walls, which like immediately Gabe was like, well, scratching noises could be rats, right?
Right,
That's
because well, you're in a complex, you don't know, we live in a very foresty area with a lot of
yeah,
critters, and yeah.
but that wouldn't explain the other stuff. Like she was laying in bed the other night and someone banged on the wall behind her head, and the wall behind her head is her
Like like
cat's room.
like behind her head, like when they see behind her, like, but was it in the room, like above her, near her, or was it
She said
behind?
it sounded like it was coming from the other side of the wall. So, but that's her cat's room. No one lives there, and it's just like a storage room, basically, with her cat's,
Yeah,
toys and litter box and stuff.
yeah, cats are not gonna do that. They don't bang. They
Her cat was with her,
okay,
so that's
okay, cool. Did a cat do anything?
the cat's been reacting to all the things. She said that she's very scared and that she'll go to check out the door and like hiss and meow and whine and
Really?
cry at all these different events that are happening. And she's told me about that like since I've been friends with her, that Whisker acts like strange. She'll like stare up at the walls, the corner of walls, and just to like be all freaked out. And I told her before, I was like, oh, maybe there's something in the walls, right? She can sense that we don't sense, but now I'm not so sure that it's like an animal or something. Um, and
Wow.
we what is it? We didn't tell our daughter about any of this because we didn't want to freak her out. Most of the stuff was happening when she was at school. It was the middle of the day, except for the poundings and that I heard, and that was at night. She was sleeping. We didn't tell her because we didn't want her to go through this again. Didn't want to scare her.
Hmm.
And she came running out of her room the other night, and she was like, "Dada, Dada, something touched me on my shoulder." And she's like, "I turned around and nothing was there." And I was just like, oh no, it's happening again. That was like my call to action for me. I
Right.
immediately was like, we have to do something. So I started like burning sage incense and putting all these crystals everywhere. And even Gabe was walking around the house with salt, the salting. Then and he's not even a firm believer, but
I
he's
was just
going
gonna
through it
say,
too.
he was just like, yeah, I was gonna say he would have been, yeah, what he for a person who's not a believer doing that, he was just probably like, I don't care, I'm gonna just get rid of this crap. No,
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah,
No, he called his mom too and wanted help. She's like very religious. Their grandfather was a pastor,
yeah, really
and
sure.
he was like, he wanted to know like, what do I do? What do we do? I don't know what to do. And she basically was like, we need to. She was going to talk to the pastor. She said we need to pray, and go to church, and all that. So I did. So I was walking around the
Oh,
house with like psalms and Bible verses. Just
you know
oh
what?
my.
You know what? I just had this really bad, like dark, funny thought. Like, if what if this is God's way of trying to convert people? It's like I'll just spook them out, start believing again.
Oh.
I'll put the fear of God in them. All right, you know. Sorry,
I know,
Lord,
but
hope it's not
it
blessed.
might work.
Yeah, it might work, man. It's like it's like me being a guy who fixes windows on cars. I just go put the bat lock on my hood and break them, and they give my business card in there. I
Oh,
mean,
I mean, it
something
worked
about
though. So Gabe's very anti-religion. He is very anti-religion. And the next day of all this happening, he was like, "We got to go get some crosses." And he was like, "We're gonna have to go to a church." I'm like, "They're not gonna help us. We're not church goers."
and
Like,
you know what? I do have holy oil and holy water from the Jordan River.
ooh.
I can always give you some of that. That's what I use at the other person's house that's local to be here. A lot of, lot of troves of stuff happening in this area. I mean, in Washington's got such a history, but a history that's unknown. I really feel,
Mm-hmm.
especially with a lot of the neighboring tribes and their
Mm-hmm.
history and their stuff. And I haven't even had the opportunity to, or really put the opportunity out there to talk to any of the native tribes. I guess part of me is like, I don't want to sound stupid just because I'm a pretty like to the point kind of personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, how do I engage that? So I'm trying to do it in ways where I can have those conversations and kind of talk about those things because, what if it's something that's tribal? It's a whole, that's near an area. I have people who talked about being near a burial ground, and that stuff's not cool. I mean, because
Yeah.
stuff does happen. It's a legitimate thing. But anyway, so continue on, or if there's anything
Oh,
on that.
um, so what's the most recent incident? Not last night, maybe the night before last. It really like affirmed with Gabe because I'm already freaked out. I'm like, what are we gonna do? I can't live through this again. I'm burning incense every day. I have crystals all over the place.
When's the last
Just
time?
anything I could think of. It's
When's the
just
last time something happened?
last night. Last
It was last night.
night was
Okay.
the
Oh, that's right. You did say sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, last night. Okay.
yeah.
Gracious.
So, not last night, but the night before last, Gabe was up by himself watching stupid videos on his phone like he does, and then he wears his headphones like this, so that we
All
can't hear
guys
them.
do. All guys do is need a phone, maybe a cigarette or a smoker, watch our
Mhm.
videos, and we're good. It's like our electrical pacifier is what it is. We're easily entertained. Okay. Anyways, I got your back,
Uh,
Kate. All right. No.
and so he said that this has like a bass slider. His does too, so I can slide the level of bass that's in the headphones.
Mhm.
He said he felt something like touch him, and then it makes a sound when you inside the headphones when you slide
Right.
the bass
Right.
slider. So
Yeah.
he felt someone slide it all the way down while he was watching his video, which is weird. It's just weird. He didn't like that. And then he didn't even tell me the next day. He said he didn't tell me because he didn't want to freak me out and he wanted to see if anything else happened.
Right.
So I didn't know that that happened, and we're getting already ready for bed. And the next night, and I put all these crystals under her bed that are supposed to be protection. And I had this little religious figurine from when I was a little kid. It's just like one of those like there was a name for it for this brand of little cute Bible characters. I don't remember it, but
Oh,
it's just like a little.
sounds like a
Do you know
Lego.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, so RA
We
was going
Catholics
to
have
lay
all
down
our
in bed.
toys.
But it wasn't like a church one, it was like cute.
I know, Shane. Go ahead.
I don't know. But when RA went to lay down, the figurine shattered in half. So it's glued back together. I sent you the pictures of it shattering
Yeah,
though.
yeah, that was wow.
Yeah, yeah. So Gabe immediately told his mom, and he's supposed to have a call with his great grandfather, who's a pastor, today to talk about this. And yeah, because we have crosses on all the doors. I put like rosemary water on all the four corners. I was on a rabbit hole on Reddit and every web page I could find. Like, what do I have around the house that I could do something with to protect us?
If it's a vampire, throw some mustard seeds. You know, they have to count. I mean,
Oh, and it's I don't know what we're gonna do next if it doesn't go away. I already Googled there's two Roman Catholic churches near us, so
yeah,
probably the next step of what we're gonna try to do. I don't know what to do.
a
So
priest come by and bless the house and everything. And so,
yeah,
yeah,
that's what Gabe wants. He's like he wants a house blessing and he hates religion, but he wants someone to come in here and bless this house.
yeah. It reminds me of my job where it's like I hate this, but I need you to do this for me.
Hmm.
I totally get it. I mean, I get it, and he gave some very some 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 understanding reasons. I won't go into detail of just because keeping it private, but and it's understandable. It's understandable.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's
his
his
resistance to religion is there's some backstory and
yeah,
trauma and history, so it's
yeah,
there. Maybe he'll come on and talk about it.
yeah, and if or when he's comfortable, I mean, definitely for sure, and that's and one thing I briefly share because I don't I'm not a preachy person. I don't go and do that. I don't it's not I don't believe in trying to throw especially being Catholic, you usually we are. Just basically, I look away from religion and look at the more important things of relationship with the good things with with God and so
Hmm.
forth. And religion's a way of man's creative way of trying to get closer to God, their way of reaching out when it's more than that. I think we do rituals in place just to kind of make us feel in control. I think sometimes
Hmm.
maybe if I'm thinking that right, but and when sometimes it's all about letting go. Heard the term
Yeah.
let go, let God. So,
Yep.
and I'm not against traditions. I find them fascinating. I think they're amazing. I love the history of it, but sometimes I think that certain rituals also can be a backfire
Hmm.
where it can give whatever's out there the power to do those things. Again, I'm kind of going on the side conversation with that, but again, it's and like I said, I understood where he was coming from with it. Basically, my long comment.
I just hope that it goes away.
Well,
So
you know
it
what?
goes
It will
away.
go. I'm going to speak in existence, saying it's going to go away. It's going to go away.
I was seeing on the Reddit, that's what like everyone was saying. If it's just a spirit, right? If you just keep telling it to go away, it'll eventually go away. That's the consensus that I got from Reddit. So hopefully it just goes away.
Yeah. Now, you know what? I really, I think it will go away. I think it's just one of those, um, bumps in the road. Just
Yeah.
be very careful. With whatever it is. I think a smart way as a Catholic priest. And it's not
Mhm.
saying that because I'm Catholic, just the more the success rate,
Yeah.
with it. But again, and hopefully there nothing will evolve more than that. So I'm putting you guys my thoughts and prayers, and I already sent you some
Thank
messages
you.
before that I'll keep private in regards to that. If something happens, type of thing, right? So again, that's still an invite. Okay, so
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so let's stop giving that power. Let's give some UAP.
Okay.
Let's give some UFO
Okay.
up here. All right, hit it up, man.
So that's why
Let's,
I
let's
originally called, well, I texted you, I messaged you.
yeah,
I was
let's
like, I want to talk about this
probe
UFO
into it.
stuff I
Yeah.
saw. I was like, I didn't want to talk about the ghost stuff originally, but then we started talking about it, and you know what? It just needed to be talked about.
Eh,
So,
I'm a very opening guy type of guy, whatever. So, but anyways, all right. So you talked about your first experience, and then there was a second experience. But go ahead, start. Let's hear
mhm.
that. Let's go for it.
So the first UFO, UAP experience that I ever had was I think I was I think it was 2012.
Hmm.
I was young. I was young, but I think I was over 21. Um, and I lived at my mom's house here in Bremerton and kind of by the shipyard, the naval base. Not super close, but kind of close, not too far away. But I'm on the porch and I'm with my whatever, my college boyfriend, and we're outside smoking, and it was not nighttime yet. It was like getting there. It was not quite night. And we saw like these weird lights in the sky, like up above us. And it was so far away at first that you couldn't see what it was. But as it started to get closer, we just sat there watching it. And it was like three lights in like a triangular shape. Um, and as it got closer, you could see the lights were getting bigger, like just like, like not like growing in size, but like the object was getting closer to us from where however high up it was in the sky. And they were either yellow or white when I remember the lights.
Hmm.
But then it just started moving really weird, like up in the sky. We thought maybe it was a helicopter or something else. Like drones weren't, I'm sure drones were a thing then, but I didn't know about drones then. Um, and it was moving like going diagonally, like going back and forth, up and down, going from like one spot up high in the corner to the next corner down below, like
Would you say it's
diagonally
would you would
across.
you would you say it's pretty effortless, like effortlessly it was doing that? Like it wasn't
Yes,
like you need to make a, like, you know how you see a plane, even a helicopter have to, it takes a slow maneuver. It was pretty,
yes.
I wouldn't say inst like quick and instant, but just no effort at all. Pretty easy.
Pretty easy. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was like fast, but it like the consensus of it just sitting there for a long time watching it was not moving like a helicopter
Right.
would, and there was no sound. So that was like the other thing that we thought was strange. Um, yeah, and they just watched it for a long time, moving back and forth, moving all around. I've been on helicopters. I've seen a lot of helicopters living there because military, and I'd never seen anything move like that. And we were just kind of curious, and then kind of freaked out, but just more curious. We sat there for a long time,
Right.
just watching it, and then eventually it like shot up, like it was like I could see the three lights, and then it just like fast, like really fast up into the sky till it was gone. And then the military helicopters came with spotlights looking for it, like a
And
whole bunch of
and
military
how close were
helicopters.
they? And this is in, was this in Bremerton?
Yeah, it was in Bremerton. Well,
Gee.
Illahee, but
Okay.
Bremerton.
Okay. So when that thing shot off, how would you say that, how long it took the helicopters to get there? Or was it when the helicopter started shut up, it shot off?
No, they came like right after, like immediately afterwards, maybe 30 seconds, a minute. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't very long. It wasn't very long afterwards that they showed up.
And
And
this is at
they were
night,
just,
this is at nighttime, right?
yeah, by the time it had finally like shot off, it was like nighttime. It was like dusk when we were out there first. So we just sat there for a long time watching it. And yeah,
You hear these stories all the time, right? You hear these stories all the time, but I can't imagine being there and just like jaw dropped and like freaked out.
yeah,
Like what
yeah,
the
we didn't, I don't, later on in life, I've even just tried to rationalize it when reading all these things and watching all this stuff. And I like would tell myself like it's a military area, right? Like I'm sure they're doing some kind of like military like testing of like
hey,
different things that we don't know,
you know that 60-page Pentagon report, that's volume one, might have an explanation. And I say that sarcastically because they're full of, I'm keeping this channel clean, behind the scenes, I'll say it in a different word, but it's full of poop, is what it is. Malarkey, manure. Yeah, anyway. So these helicopters that came by, how close were they to your house or your place?
So
Yeah.
those we could hear like right away. You
Oh,
could
I'm
hear
sure.
the sound of multiple helicopters, and there were a whole bunch of trees like around my mom's house, that big tall trees, like
Mhm.
Washington trees. Um, and I don't know, I don't want to say that they were close to those, but just from like being able to see the trees, I could see that they were much closer than the thing was to us, whatever it was. Um, like I could see clearly they were helicopters, and now that I'm like looking back, that makes me feel like the thing was so much smaller too. Like thinking of the judgment of the trees, or maybe it was way up higher. I don't know. But you could hear them. You could clearly see they were helicopters. They were close enough. And
And you guys went in the
just
house, right? That you told me, you guys was like,
yeah,
we're done.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Peace
that's
out.
it. We're going
We're not
inside.
we're not
Like
gonna we're not gonna be MIB. We're gonna say nothing here. We're good.
yep, yep, that was it.
All right.
And me and him never talked about it together really again. I think maybe just one or two times, but just kind of just, you know,
Well,
didn't really have an explanation for it. So,
and by the way, people out there, just let you know, I know it feels like it's saturated here, all this stuff out there about people's sightings reports. Trauma like that, any trauma does that to you. And, and people won't talk about it because of just what they've seen or what they've gone through. This stuff's real. It is real out there. It's constant more than you know. I also have friends and family members who've had their experiences, which again, I wanted to make sure to share how like this is not just a story, but your experience that this did bother you. I'm sure.
mhm,
Okay, even though you're fascinated by it, I'm fascinated by it. But I guess seeing it and experiencing the two different things in a way. Like I see it,
mhm,
experiencing it. It's like sometimes you're like, man, I careful what you wish for type of thing sometimes.
mhm.
But anyways, am I kind of getting that a little bit in a way?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Wow. Okay. So and then I remember, was it you and Gabe saw something else? Saul?
yeah.
Yeah. So what's up with that? Was this in Bremerton as well? Where was this at?
No, that was here in Port Orchard where we live now.
Oh,
It was
Porter.
actually
Sorry. I keep
yeah, but
Bremerton,
the
Bremerton.
shipyard's right across from the water from us. So I mean, I think that whatever is happening in the skies or dimensions or whatever we want to talk about it, I think, since we're close to military bases here, I think that has a lot to do with the sightings themselves. That's just my personal opinion.
I, I I
Um,
I agree with that. Dr. Stephen Greer came out with a map. I was trying to find this map a while back regarding suspected bases, and one of those
mhm.
bases is around that area.
So
Um,
yeah, that's this shipyard is like one of the biggest in the world for us, I think.
yeah,
So it would make sense. It's a highly sensitive area. And then also there's Bangor, the submarine base. There's Everett nearby to us. There's Joint Lewis McChord. We're like
yeah.
surrounded by military bases up here where we are
Well, and
at.
people, yeah, well, people don't know also too is that there was a UFO incident that happened off Murray Island back in the 40s or 50s regarding a father, a son, and their dog on the boat doing crab fishing, which is normal around here because everybody does their crab fishing. Where excuse me, they saw these three objects in the air. They're saucer-like, and what happened was one of them was acting really funny and was kind of just bouncing around left and right, like there was a malfunction. So,
Mhm.
but it started dropping what they called slag.
Wow.
And this slag, I guess, was dropping and it started dropping the boat, causing damage, and it killed their dog, which is really
Oh
sad.
my goodness.
And I thought about taking a trip out there to see if I could find any potential slag. Of course, me knowing if I pick it up, it's like probably fossilized poop. Um, but they, there's more to that story, which I can always do more research to do episode on. But just want to share that did happen out in pretty much near your neck of the wood, our neck of the woods. Technically, it's
Mhm.
not far from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I almost did take a motorcycle ride to where you're at before we even talked, just to kind of
Hmm.
age into it. But I'm thinking if I do that, what's it gonna, it's not gonna prove anything, maybe, I guess it's more of a morbid curiosity just to see the base itself. And it's like, what am I gonna
Yeah.
do? But anyways, but yeah, that's killer. But anyway, so what did you guys see?
So we were on our porch taking a break. That's where
Mhm.
we smoke. And I can't, I'm sitting here right now trying to think of what direction that is. I think it's south. So to the south, it was red lights that we saw. And that's not weird. Like from where we can see, we often see airplanes and helicopters and military aircraft, like in this specific spot, in this like
Pretty
clearing
active,
between
pretty
trees.
active.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
um, so it wasn't weird. Like we see the red lights too of like planes like all the time, every single
Right.
day and night. You can see them right in this little spot where the trees. breakup that you can view from our porch.
Mhm.
Um, but this time it was weird because it was like they were red lights together and then they started to break apart. Like it was so weird and it was like slow. And then it was three of them. I
Right.
think it was three. And then they started moving in different directions. And then from what I remember, one of them disappeared completely. And I was like, we were watching for a long time. Like, where'd it go? What was that? Where did it go? I don't remember what happened in the end. We're gonna have to get Gabe on, but
Okay.
I'd never seen anything do that before. And then when I, saw some other videos of like other things breaking up like in the sky, I always try to find some way to rationalize it to myself before I think it's something paranormal,
Right.
but or anything. But yeah, I saw similar videos of things breaking apart, like when they fall from the sky that could be explained, and it looked almost exactly the same, except we didn't see it like falling. It just like it looked like maybe it was an airplane, maybe it was a military aircraft, and then the lights just like broke up,
But it
which
wasn't
was
flares of
weird.
any sort. I know it sounds like a stupid question, but like wasn't flares. It wasn't just like coming together and kind of falling apart. It was actually have its own, you would say, intelligent function moving.
Yeah, I would see each of the little red lights move differently and
Mm.
wasn't just like it was falling. Like it was like moving up slowly, the other one was moving down slowly, another one was moving to the side, like independent. And I don't know what it was. I've never like seen a flare in real life, but I don't imagine it looked like that.
Flare,
I don't
flares,
know.
flares, flares. I mean, it doesn't move with intelligence. And you shoot up in the air, it's in there for an instant, and then it slowly flows and burns. It's pretty. I mean,
Mhm.
I know what a flare looks like. I've seen it before, and some of these videos I've seen, people say, "Oh, it's flare military size." I'm like, unless they have some sophisticated type of flare I don't know about, that's malarkey. It's stupid. I don't agree with that. So, wow, geez. So that would you,
Anytime
huh?
I don't know, anytime anything happens up here, like I always think like it's not such a weird thought to like even assume it's like our military is testing stuff that we don't know about, right?
Well,
All the
well, I
time,
mean, well,
probably.
well, of course they are. I mean, why do you think we have our stealth bombers? We just recently came out with a jet that can actually drop nukes. A jet,
Hmm.
a bomb. It's a jet that's capable of nuking. A new plane just came out. I'm like, holy crap! I mean, it's spiffy looking. That's pretty
Hmm.
cool. Like, huh, take that, Maverick. But yeah, of course. And you know what? With the military, and there's there's good people in the military and so forth, and I understand the government secrecy because we don't want our adversaries to know these things, and that's sad that
Hmm.
we have to do that. That as a planet, as a species, we can't just be more unified where it's about taking care of
Yeah.
each other on the planet. We have to hide these secrets. I get it because unfortunately there is bad people in the world who don't um just just are just psychotic, just it's sad and they're in
Yeah.
power. And so, I get that, but at the same time, we're not perfect either. I mean, we have people who are paranoid as hell. I mean, J. Edgar Hoover
Hmm.
thought Hoover was a communist. I mean, so so it's just sad that's where we're at, today. And I get that in the name of secrecy, government secrecy, and I get that. At the same time, I kind of feel that that also gets used a lot, right?
Hmm.
I think that gets used a lot just to keep continuing what they're continuing. And the funny thing is, too, where you're at, we have Boeing here, we have Lockheed
Yeah.
Martin.
Yes.
There's a lot of I mean, Lockheed Martin's been on the radar regarding a lot of the private contracts. Yeah, you still, oh, hold on. You still there? All right, everybody, we're back. Sorry about that. We've looks like we talked about aliens too much, and we're about around a bunch of government bases, and they're trying to shut us down. That's how important we are, I guess. Whatever, or someone's gang stalking us, or stealing my internet. I have no idea, or it could be the raccoons outside. Who knows? And or just normal technical difficulties. Anyways, so I picking up where we're left. Actually, you know what? Before we get back into it, um, actually, I lost train of thought. That's what happens when you pause. When you hit me on pause. So anything. Oh, here's a question. So besides us going back to the bases, we talked about how
Hmm.
everything. We know there's a lot of crap going on. I know I talked about Lucky Martha and Raytheon, all that stuff, and there's a lot of those contracts going around that are still continuing to stay. Going
Hmm.
back to your experience, would you say? that experience with that object that you saw, was that kind of bringing the same kind of concern and fear that you had when you saw the first object?
Um,
Or was it
the
kind of like I've been, or is like I'm used to this a little bit, so
No, well, kind of, maybe. The first one was scarier, just I think because of the military helicopters that showed up afterwards, because it's kind of like, like to me, like now, especially, it's like, did they know what was going on? Did they know what that was? Like, because they were searching for something with spotlights, right? Where that thing was.
right.
But this one, no one came looking for anything. No one, like, there was nothing else.
And it could have been a government test object.
Yeah, so it wasn't as like terrifying to us. Gabe had never really seen too much, even though he lived by an Air Force base in California. So I'm sure he's seen some things that maybe he didn't realize might be things. But I think that's the first time he saw something.
Hey,
So he was weirded out. But
what if Gabe is a government operative person
oh my goodness.
who's with you just to keep an eye on for what you know?
Oh my goodness. Because of what I know, all these big government
I'm
secrets.
telling you, man. I'm just joking, Gabe. I'm joking. I like to put humor to it. But if it comes up being true and I'm getting stalked, then I'm out of here. So so all right. Well, we spent quite a bit an hour talking about that. I know you had the subject regarding the Ariel school incident, right?
Yes,
You wanted to
yes.
talk about that. Okay. So, did you want to continue and talk about that?
We can do it another time if that works better, or
It's
we can
it,
keep going.
it's up to you. How you feeling? How's your time looking?
Um, Maybe do you think it's okay to save it? It's like the
We
most interesting subject to me. Like, I feel like if you haven't heard about the Ariel incident, like, and you're skeptical, like, it might make you like believe. Like, it's such like I think it's one of the most
No, I
important
you want to
sightings
no,
of.
absolutely, absolutely, and I saved a lot of notes and I saved some videos on top of it, absolutely, because I think it's a great, even though it was back in 1994, 1996, I believe.
Mhm,
I think it's a subject that should be talked about. It's a lot of things, a lot of people, like for you and I who are interested in the subject, this is old news to us.
mhm.
But for other people, and I'm figuring this out too, like if I pull the subject, like, well, this is kind of old news. I know about this. But to a lot of people, it's like, what?
Yeah, that's like it's
Why?
I
It's
think
like
it's one of the most important and most like believable. Like it's got so
well,
much behind it.
it was like a mass witness, like the freaking Fatima. I mean, geez, Manila.
Yeah, and then like the Harvard professor and oh, there's
Oh,
so
John,
much.
yeah, John Mack, and I have him speak. I have a video about him speaking about his belief and everything. And this guy put his career on the line, which was amazing. Which, yeah, what we can do, everybody, is we're gonna pin that for another episode because that I think that should we should do justice to that conversation, especially with the kids' testimonies, and especially as from being as children and also as adults. You know,
Yes.
they still claim the claim to the story, and there's actually a Netflix on it. I'm sure
Hmm.
as well, which is quite interesting. And the
Yeah.
guy they tried to have debunk it looked like sounds terrible. Looked like some meth head they paid money on just to say, "Hey, you faked it," you know?
Yep. Yep. And
Yeah,
he did so many interviews before where
yeah.
he went along with everyone else
I'm
on what
like,
he saw.
how is this kid with that ego claim to say I tricked everybody? That is psychotic to me.
It was like he
That
tricked like 62 people or 62
yeah.
kids.
Jeez, man, you should be a motivational speaker. Maybe I can help you with some clients that can help me get some business, man. Jeez, you're a talented individual.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could definitely save that for another episode. And you
Cool.
and I, after we finish here, we'll talk offline a little bit and so forth. Um, but anything else you want to add, stories wise, or anything, regards that I didn't ask, or something maybe I could have asked I didn't uh
Mm,
get to you about.
no, I don't think so. Those are my main experiences, and I think mostly I got what I needed out and you asked, I think. Um,
Well, how about this?
I'm sure there'll be more. I hope not.
Well, you know what? Overall, the question I have for you, because you're similar to me in the way of being young, a very young person who's always been intrigued by this subject and matter.
Mhm,
And what do you think, besides the paranormal stuff, that's a whole, I think that to me personally, I think there's ties to the paranormal and UFO. I
mhm.
really do. That's again a whole another conversation.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the phenomenon with the UFOs that's going around and the timing of it all? I mean, besides it getting pushed really hard after, like, example, COVID, w-
Hmm.
do you think that there's an agenda to control the narrative of the truth because it's going to get out? Do you think there's actually a push for the truth to from a general public outcry? Like, and what do you think it is all? Like, what do you think it might be of all of it?
I think it's definitely one of those two, or maybe something similar. There's something going on. There's too many sightings. Now we can all share information and write information, and it's not as crazy anymore. And I think that's only because someone is allowing it to not be as crazy anymore. And just like with this new one that they just released, that okay, this government agency reviewed this other government agency and found that there was no UFO evidence, but there's members of Congress that said they were believers after whatever classified information that
The
they
skip they had with
received.
the IG yeah, general, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It,
and then there's military like people, like accredited, respectable like people that have said what they've seen, and I just I don't know what the narrative is that they're trying to push, but I definitely think that they're controlling it. that's
I,
that's
I
my
I
thought.
I agree too. I mean, it's one of those things where we know the truth's going to come out, right?
Hmm.
But if you can control the narrative of the truth, you know, that's scarier.
Hmm.
And because, when they talk about, well, we don't want catastrophic disclosure, and I said this the last episode, catastrophic for who?
Hmm.
I get for people who don't believe in this. To me, I'm ready for it. I'm like, rip the band-aid off, right? I'm sure you're
Yeah,
probably the same thing. Let's just get it done. Let's do it. Let's have a bigger view of the
exactly.
world and our existence. Everybody else might freak out. And someone said, well, what about it destroying religion and all this stuff? I'm like, dude, religion and all these people have been fighting for years. What else are going to do? I mean,
Hmm.
look what's going on in the Middle East today, even again. And so it's just like, so, it's like excuses are like a-holes. Everybody has one, and so I'm 2024 has just been a very interesting start of the year, and the Pentagon coming out with this report, which I'm going to do more about during the week,
Awesome.
about this for volume one. I'm like, what are you doing? A Harry Potter movie, volume one of what
You
this
know, I
is?
loved how they said that there was evidence that they like, that they're going to share at a later time. We'll share it now. Like, what is it? What
They
is
didn't share
it?
any videos of that sorts. They had a selected committee of selected media outlets that came out.
Hmm.
None of them are mainstream, from what I understand. One of I talked about was about the News Nation thing, because News Nation came out with David Grush last year with
Hmm.
the special correspondent Ross Coulthart, which was an amazing interview. Loved it. They really got to the broader version, the details later on. But I call it extreme BS.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying they don't have these secret programs, but it's almost like half truth, whole lie,
Hmm.
and that's really what it is. And then also the testimonies that are coming out, you could see that the Pentagon's getting desperate. The people are
Hmm.
getting desperate. They're trying to put like, okay, we need to start building this now. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, come in, we got you. We're gonna share this stuff to you now. Hey, you know what? Here's what's going on. Here's 60 pages of volume one. We're gonna give you volume two later on. AKA, we haven't created volume two yet because we're still trying to put the BS to it. That's my interpretation. I'm not the
I
brightest
think
in the
they just
box.
needed to give people something else to cling to be like, look, you guys are wearing tinfoil hats. You're crazy. None of this is real.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, it's like I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, but I know how to smell BS and read people
Hmm.
conversations because I'm a BSer myself. And so, but anyways, back I'm sure we can go on forever on that. But yeah, what we'll do is we'll communicate on bringing that next episode out. I know my brother and I put together Bob Lazar stuff as well. But again, I got so much of the material. It's not like I'm gonna like this has to be out this way. I want to go. I want to keep this stuff going. The whole point of this is not is to inform people on so many
Hmm.
subjects, not just on Bob Lazar, the area school incident. There's others that are recent, like Mike Herrera. Have you heard of Mike Herrera at all?
Hmm.
About the whole thing in Indonesia that happened? You
No,
didn't hear about
what is
that?
it? No, what is it?
Okay. Okay. After
I'm like on my phone
Yeah,
already.
you
Like,
got
do
you
I
got
have
it.
to read it?
You got to. Well, I wouldn't read. I would YouTube it. gives us testimony what happened in Indonesia. And I'm going to be doing features episodes on that. That could be another subject you and I can talk about and do. That was an interesting one regarding an event that happened in Indonesia last about 10, 20 years ago. So
Oh, we did talk about this. So it's the MXPX guy, right? Is this
MX,
the same guy?
no, different,
No,
different guy,
different guy.
different guy. It's interesting though. It's interesting.
Okay.
You got to hear his testimony. It's really really good.
Okay.
He's multiple too. We can and if you find that interesting, if you're like, hey Chris, can we do some of this one too? Absolutely, we can do that. So,
Okay.
all right. Well, other than that, I think we were like hour 10 minutes, well maybe hour 9 minutes because I had a little hiccup earlier. But anyways, that's okay. Anything else?
Um, no, I really wanted to talk about Ariel, but like I feel like it deserves like yeah, like its own time. It's so important.
No, and you know
You
what?
know?
And you know what? I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about this too, because I put it together, the stuff I have, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to make sure that I didn't want to take away from your sharing your experience.
Oh,
And so, so totally worth it. Totally worth it. That just, hey, it makes my work easier. I don't have to do a whole nother episode. So this makes it so much easier for me. All right, before we get out of here, everybody can reach the podcast, Bound to Truth, email bound to truth at 30 excuse me, I can't talk. Bound to truth 34 at gmail.com. Please feel free to share your experiences. You want to have an interview, experiences, thoughts, feelings, comments, angry or good. I prefer good. Definitely hit us up on the Spotify, YouTube, Twitter. We are now on there, or excuse me, X. I keep saying that. Twitter, it's X. Please hit us up, subscribe. We would love listeners. And again, this platform is yours. And we will talk again and next week, hopefully. So, all right, everybody have a good night.
bye.
Bye.